Hey folks, welcome to the show. Super happy to have you here and super happy to talk about how the fact that my Oilers are not out of the playoffs quite yet. We'll see what happens. Let's talk about the game, mentalities, and what the series will look like going forward. Before we go ahead, please consider liking the video. It's a huge help for me and my confidence, as well as subscribing for more. And I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Now, let's talk about the game. And I was thinking about how I felt like the Oilers should score the first goal of the game. And I think that's standard for every team you cheer for. You hope they score the first goal of the game. But I was just kind of feeling like, it might be super important to, just for mentality, or no, it's always important to score first goal of the game. I think it's extra important. And they did. In the first period, wasn't too much going on. Skinner made a huge save early. That was, once again, one of the opening statements for the game. And the other opening statement for the game was a shorthanded goal created by Connor Brown for the second straight game. And this time it was Brown who ended up putting in the net on a breakaway. Beautiful breakaway. In the second and third period, the Florida Panthers did outshoot the Oilers. But it didn't. It took the Panthers being down 3-0 for that to happen. Part of that has to do with Conn McDavid basically solidifying the Conn Smythe trophy race in his favor. Though first there's a power play goal by Zach Hyman. And, by Zach Hyman's knee off of a Bouchard bomb. Bouchard hits 30 points in the postseason. He's one of 4 defensemen to do that. McDavid would eventually hit, I think it's with the Perry goal where he had this insane assist I'm sure you've seen online, which came later. Because first McDavid scores one himself to make it 3-0, then Matthew Tkachuk scores on a turnover. I was thinking, going back to mentality, and that's why I'm bringing up Matthew Tkachuk more specifically, is because I'm trying to get into Florida's head and see what they're thinking, and I like his mentality now, but I was kind of like, well, he hasn't scored a goal since game 1 of the Rangers, and he only has 1 assist in the series. Well, he had 2 points today, and he saved the empty net in a great diving effort by him. Unfortunately, when he saved it, the puck went straight to Connor McDavid. But anyways, we'll get there when we get there. So Matthew Tkachuk scores, Florida's still in, it's 3-1. Then the Oilers scored another power play goal. It was a good job by Corey Perry, but it was as a result of an amazing, beautiful job by Connor McDavid to go through 3 guys. I think it's with that one that McDavid hit. No, I think it was with his goal that he hit 40 points because he's at 42 right now. I'll check later. I do have the list that I'll bring up later. And we'll talk about Bouchard and McDavid and chasing history on their end as well. Evan Rodriguez does score at the end of the second period to make it 4-2. Most dangerous lead in the league, because the Panthers, they were known as the comeback cats. They were able to come back from any deficit and win, and they've had that for the last 2 years, and yet this game didn't turn out that way. Though they did come close. Ekman-Larsson had a great snipe early in the third to make it a 1-goal game, and Florida controlled the game for the next 16 minutes. It was very tense. It was a game to watch. But eventually, McDavid does score the empty netter. He makes more history with that. The Score has a great article on him. They talk about, I think it's called By the Numbers, how Connor McDavid and the Conn Smythe, even if the Oilers lose. Highly recommend looking at that to talk about all the numbers going on insane numbers going on for Connor McDavid. One I'm going to bring up here, his points per game when the Oilers are facing elimination, 1.92. That's the best in NHL history. And again, like I said, we'll talk more about McDavid and Bouchard and their insane numbers. But despite the Florida Panthers having a really good overall game, ignoring the score, which, yes, I know is the most important, were the better team. They outshot the Oilers by 8. They massively outhit the Oilers, and they won nearly 60% of the faceoffs. Those 3 things should give you a win, but the Florida Panthers were weak on the special teams, and lost the goaltending battle too. On special teams, the Oilers were 2 for 5. I said in the first 3 games of the series, the the game that the Oilers scores a power play goal is the game they win, and the Oilers scored a power play goal last game and 2 this game, and yet I wouldn't say it was really because of the power play that they've won either of those games, but I'll still take credit for being right. The Oilers power play could have been better, but 2 for 5 still a pretty good mark. One power play was ended early because of a penalty of their own. They only had 5 shots on the 5 power plays. It's just whatever. But their penalty kill remains perfect. They had just as many shots for as they had shots allowed when it came to the penalty kill, including a goal for without ever allowing a goal against. So perhaps the Panthers are at a point where they would rather be on the penalty kill than the power play at this rate. But going to the goalies, Skinner for the second straight game has been the notably better goalie than Bobrovsky. He was 29 for 32. Brilliant save early, and I think that really set the tone. I thought that was super important to have Skinner make a huge save early, just to say, hey, that wasn't a one-off for Skinner last game. He's going to be amazing today as well, and you're going to have a hard time scoring on him. And the goals that Florida would score did require some really good play and snipes. Both the Tkachuk and the Ekman-Larsson goal were snipes on the top right, or Skinner's top left corner, so just above the glove. And Rodriguez's goal had like 6 bounces going on, which of course one of the bounces went off Nurse, because if there's a bounce, it's Nurse. I don't know why. Well, I have my theories, and I've talked about it, but whatever. It wasn't just him. It bounced off Skinner, Nurse, a Panther. Anyways. And Bobrovsky looked even... Well, I wouldn't say he looked worse because he got pulled in the last game. But he looked good in some of the goals against. Like, he tried really hard on the Brown one. The Perry one he tried really hard on and almost got it on both of them. On both of those goals, he almost got the puck. He just wasn't fast enough. The McDavid goal, McDavid's first goal, was a goal that Bobrovsky should not allow. And that could destroy him. Really could. He's a veteran, so I think he'll be fine, but it's just I don't really see him returning to the form he had in the first 3 games. And I'm not saying he has to be his game 1 form where he shut us out, but like I don't know if he could reliably be at 900 anymore right now. This is now 2 straight games where he's well below 850. His 688 was his save percentage last game, 826, which sure is a lot better last night. I mean, it's just not been good for the Panthers. And so before I talk about going forward, let's talk about 3 stars and some history. My 3 stars, I think everybody's kind of agreed on the first star, Connor McDavid, 4-point night. It's his second straight 4-point night. He's the only player in NHL history to have multiple 4-point games in the finals. He was also added a hit, a block, and a takeaway in nearly 25 minutes of time on ice. Evan Bouchard, who played nearly 26 minutes of time on ice, had 3 assists and a hit and 2 blocks. And then third star could have been either Matthew Tkachuk or Evan Rodriguez. There was lots of reasons for me to hate and love Matthew Tkachuk because I'm trying to respect his game because he is a great, talented player. I like his mentality. I like that he's physical. He had 6 hits, but he wasn't throwing any dirty hits. But he was embellishing. He seemed to have fallen down every other shift, and he was eventually called for an embellishment. That one, I don't know if that was embellishment. The one he was actually called on, I'm not sure if it actually was, but because Holloway's toe hit Tkachuk's skate as he was going down, so I don't know. But considering how often he was falling down, I wouldn't put it past him. But he still had a great game. He still had 2 points and almost saved the game. Just unfortunately, Ekman-Larsson wasn't the guy who was there to get the puck. It was Connor McDavid. But I decided to give it to Evan Rodriguez, who also had a goal and assist. And I thought it was plus minus is kind of a... And this is an example of how plus minus can be overrated, but I still think it's impressive that he was a +3 in a game where his team lost 5-3. So you were on for all 3 goals, and we're never on for an even strength goal against. Pretty dang good for Evan Rodriguez. But I do know that has more to do with deployment than his defensive abilities. So he did have 2 takeaways, which is good. But like I said, I think it has more to do with being deployed in highly offensive situations than not. Let's talk about McDavid and Bouchard. So here are the leaders when it comes to all-time points in a single postseason. Connor McDavid is currently 4th. He has 42 points in 23 games. He's scored 8 goals in that. Among that, of the 4 other times somebody has reached 40 points, it's been Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux. So ahead of McDavid is 43 points in 19 games by Gretzky in 1988. And then 44 points is second place, which was in 23 games by Mario Lemieux in 1991. And of course, the record is 47 points in 18 games by Wayne Gretzky in 1985. The first 3 examples here, number 1, 2nd, and 3rd, all Gretzky would go on to win the cup in all those situations except for when he was with the Kings, and I put an asterisk there because I'll get to that. And Mario Lemieux would go on to win the Stanley Cup that year as well when he hit 44 points. We'll see if Connor McDavid does the same, but Gretzky didn't win the Stanley Cup when he had 40 points in 24 games, and he didn't even win the Conn Smythe that year. That was Patrick Waugh who won the Conn Smythe. That said, I don't think Sergei Bobrovsky, Connor McDavid's opposing goaltender, will be winning the Conn Smythe. So I do think the Conn Smythe is very much already in Connor McDavid's hands. We'll see if he can reach 47 points. 5 points in 2 games is a tall order, even for Connor McDavid. But like I said, he's at a point per game pace of 1.92 in elimination scenarios for the Oilers, and he has 8 points in his last 2 games, so 5 points in his next 2 games is very doable. So I think people would want him to score 6 points to break Gretzky's record, especially since Gretzky did it in only 18 games. But again, we'll get there. Now let's go to Evan Bouchard. So he's currently 3rd right now. All the talk of Connor McDavid, it's easy to forget that Bouchard is at 32 points in 23 games. He's actually 2nd in league postseason scoring, 10 behind Connor McDavid. That's how far ahead McDavid is. He's 20 points ahead of anybody on the Panthers, which is Matthew Tkachuk, I believe, at 22. McDavid also, well, we're still talking about McDavid, has more assists than anybody on the Panthers has points in the postseason. That's kind of a Gretzky-esque stat right there. But anyways, back to Bouchard, because I just said how it's easy to get distracted by Connor McDavid, and then I got distracted by Connor McDavid. So Bouchard has already passed Cale Makar, who scored 29 points in 20 games. A couple years ago with the Avalanche, he won the Conn Smythe that year. He's passed Al MacInnis, who had 31 points in 22 games when the Flames won their Stanley Cup in 1989. MacInnis did win the Stanley Cup that year and the Conn Smythe. I think I forgot to mention Cale Makar won the Stanley Cup that year as well, or I forgot to mention he won the Conn Smythe that year. Either or, he won them both there as well. And then ahead of Bouchard is Brian Leetch. He's the only non-Canadian on either of these lists. He's American. 34 points in 23 games when the Rangers won the Stanley Cup with him. He also won the Conn Smythe that year. The leader right now is the other Oiler on this list, Paul Coffey, of course. You didn't need to look at the list to guess who it was. 37 points in 18 games. The Oilers did win the Cup that year. Coffey did not win the Conn Smythe that year. He probably would have if that wasn't the same year that Gretzky had 47 points. So there's some similarities here in that in 1984-85 when the Oilers won, was that their second cup? I think that was their second cup. Could be their third, but I think it was their second cup. They had record breakers by Gretzky and Coffey in that year, and would, again, like I said, win that Stanley Cup. They only needed 18 games in that run. And whereas fast forward nearly 30 years, now there's another Oilers center and another Oilers defenseman who are may not be breaking the records, but certainly have a really good chance at it. And those could win the Stanley Cup. I don't think Evan Bouchard's going to win the Conn Smythe because we just talked about Connor McDavid, and just like Paul Coffey, he didn't win the Conn Smythe that year because Wayne Gretzky. But just an impressive play by both of them. I've been really excited by them both. I wasn't going to buy another Oilers jersey this year because I have lots, but I was kind of thinking I need one to put the Stanley Cup patch on, and I decided to wait till the Oilers won a game. And I was waiting to see, okay, well, who do I get on it? Because I have a McDavid jersey, so I'm either going to go Nugent Hopkins, Draisaitl, or Bouchard. I think I'm going to go with Bouchard because he's just been amazing with this run. I already have a Skinner jersey, by the way, for those who don't know. So, now that we've talked about the game and the numbers, I want to talk about Game 6. So that's going to be back in Edmonton. Obviously, I'm super stoked for that. Not that I'm going, because I don't have $3 million to spend. It's not $3 million tickets, but might as well be, because I don't got the money for it. But I do feel quite confident in the Oilers. I'm worried I'm a little overconfident, and I just hope that the overconfidence of fans doesn't infect the team, because I think that's what happened earlier in the year when the Oilers sucked. It was the overconfidence of fans that got into the Oilers' heads, and then they lost. So I'm hoping that's not the case for Game 6. It very well could be, but I do think the Oilers have the exact right mentality. I really liked their answers in the post-game. It's all about one game at a time. Just win one game. They've come back from the dead before. They're happy to do it again. And when McDavid was asked about what does it feel like being among Mario Lemieux and Wayne Gretzky, he often says he doesn't care about the points, but he does say, it's a huge honor. But he also said none of it would have happened without the guys on his team, which is a very humble answer. It is true to an extent, because it's not like he's carrying the entire team. Like, depth is scoring, but he's still scoring a lot more than anyone else. So, yeah. Great answer by him. Hyman, of course, was asked about, you finally score a goal in the Stanley Cup Finals. You've kind of been sitting on 14 goals for a while, and he says it doesn't care who scores. When the Oilers score, when one guy on the team scores, it feels like everybody on the team scored, and I think that's a great mentality to have. That's a winning mentality to have. I have that mentality in basketball because I'm rarely score, so I have to have it. But that was a great answer by Zach Hyman, who did score, as we talked about, his 15th goal. He's the only guy to have, or it's not only guy, third guy to have 15 goals in the NHL postseason in the Salary Cap era, following two guys who just so happened to be Sidney Crosby and Alexander Ovechkin. So like I said, I think Oilers' mentality is great. I think Skinner's in the zone. I think Knobloch's in the zone. I think everybody's focused. But as I said in the last review, it's up to the Florida Panthers and their mentality. Now, I'm sure you saw my thumbnail for the video. It's Bill Zito. If it's not Bill Zito, then unfortunately I couldn't find the picture where his eyes are just falling out of his head. I really hope I find it for the thumbnail of this video. If I don't, I'll use the Connor McDavid one after he scored the empty netter. Or I'll use the picture of Bill Zito throwing the water, was it a cup or a bottle, into the wall. I thought that was great. I had a lot of fun with that. And I say that with a lot of respect for Bill Zito. I love Bill Zito. I think he's done a great job as GM, which is probably why he's so pissed and angry, where it's falling apart. You are one game away from the Stanley Cup Finals for 2 games now, and now it's going to be 3. And you were just here last year. It's gotta be anger. It's gotta wreak hell with your mind. I don't blame anybody for being pissed in this scenario for the Florida Panthers, and yet I don't know if that's the right mentality the Panthers should have. I think they're kind of all over the place. I mentioned earlier, I think Matthew Tkachuk has the right mentality. I assume he still does. I don't know. I think Sergei Bobrovsky's lost it, which is understandable. I think everybody in his position would as well. I don't know about Barkov. I was listening to Paul Maurice's interview. No, he wasn't super funny this time around, but that's okay. He doesn't need to be. He was mostly level-headed. He says, we just got to win one game. And he's absolutely right, and he should say that. And yet you haven't in 2 games. And the other thing he said, and he was right about, but it was also something I wanted to hear as an Oilers fan, because I don't think he was entirely right. I think he was wrong as well. He said, when he was asked about the game, he said, we just got to stay out of the penalty box. And I was like, yeah, you're absolutely right. And he said, that's it. I don't agree there. I don't know if he fully believes in that. Maybe in the next 2 days he'll realize, okay, there's other stuff we got to work on. But assuming he keeps that mentality, I think that can bite the Panthers in the butt. If all they think about is, oh, we just got to stay out of the penalty box. Because here's the problem with that. Now, he is right. That was the biggest killer for the Panthers today. Even if the Oilers' power play wasn't super great, they were 2 for 5, so I guess 40% is actually pretty good. But also the other 3 power plays, you're not having time to. That's up to 6 minutes of where you're not pressuring the other team. Though one of the Oilers did take a penalty during one of the power plays, so it wasn't 6 minutes. But I think, and I think everyone agrees, if the Panthers weren't in the penalty box, they could have won this game. And also not allowing the shorthanded goal. Paul Maurice also mentioned that, how unacceptable that is, because now the Oilers' penalty kill has outscored the Panthers' power play during the series. I don't know what the number is for the Oilers' penalty kill in the entire postseason. I know they have 4 shorthanded goals. I can't think of how many power play goals they've allowed. I think it's less than 4, though. I want to say 3. That's absurd. And it might be 4 or 5, but that's still absurd to only allow 1 less goal at most than goals you've scored while on a 4-on-5 scenario. Maurice did mention that. But, for one thing, it's going to be super hard for the Panthers to stay out of the penalty box, because you're playing a team that's very fast and hard to stop. When you're playing Connor McDavid, sometimes he does something where the only thing you can do is slash him or do something dirty. I do that in basketball. I don't slash in basketball because I don't have a stick, but I would with some guys I play. I get it. I take some fouls when I know I'm getting beat. And it's also part of the way the Panthers play. They are all about bullying the other team, and it's worked for them because they get a lot of shots. What they do is they bully the other team into their own zone, and then they start firing away. And it's been good, and it's been fine because, one, they score when they fire away, and when it goes the other way, Sergei Bobrovsky makes a save, and their penalty kill has been great. It was great against the Rangers, and it was great against the Oilers in the first 3 games. It was incredible, really, against the Oilers, and when it wasn't, Bobrovsky was superhuman. But that's not happening anymore. So, yeah, I think you're not. I don't think it's possible for the Panthers to stop taking 3 or 4 penalties, because it's part of their game, really. They were the most penalized team of the year, and it was kind of the part of the reason the Panthers or it was a side effect of the reason the Panthers were the best team for much of the regular season, close to winning the President's Trophy. And now, if you're not going to do that, you have to change your game, or somehow make all these big hits without taking penalties. And let's say they do that. Let's say they do only take one penalty a game. Don't underestimate Oilers 5-on-5. The Panthers are a great 5-on-5 team. They are a better 5-on-5 team than the Oilers, but that's not saying the Oilers are bad 5-on-5. That's been the narrative for the Oilers for years. Even this year it has. Even though it shouldn't have been. The Oilers are still a very good 5-on-5 team and have outplayed the Panthers in 5-on-5 in quite a few games this series. It just only these last 2 games, the Oilers 5-on-5 hasn't, shots-wise, hasn't been great. They only outshot the Panthers by 2 in the last game, but won 8-1, as you know. And this game, the Panthers outplayed the Oilers 5-on-5 by quite a bit. So, while Maurice isn't wrong, the reason I'm happy about the answer as an Oilers fan is I think he's getting distracted by one big issue, that he's getting distracted by all the smaller issues that have also built up to allow the Oilers to win the last 2 games and still be in the series to this point, going into Game 6 in Edmonton. Connor McDavid called it. He says, we're just going to do a business trip to Florida and drag him back here to Alberta. And they did. Now it's time to go back to Florida and go win it there. So we'll see. I do believe in the Oilers. I never, you can look at my other videos, I never lost faith. I just admitted it was really, really hard to have a large amount of faith and that it was virtually lost. But, you know, it goes to 4 for a reason, and the Oilers believe that too. And the Panthers are being forced to believe that right now, unfortunately for them. But anyways, that's it for this video. I'd love to hear, like I said, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. I will see you in the next video. I don't know which ones it's going to be, just kind of based on my work schedule. I have some other videos planned, but I don't know if I'll actually get to those videos with work. But I'll absolutely, obviously, do a video for Game 6, and hopefully I'll be doing a video for Game 7. Anyways, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.